The Golden State Warriors are the first team in NBA history to win at least 12 of their first 15 regular season games. Nevertheless, at some later point in the season, they show a negative record. These teams win on average. In a 55-game season, the Warriors finished with 40 wins. They started 12-3, leading the West. Everything was good, but now they're at 20-20, not much. Only after winning the last game and not even making a play-in spot, you have to savor that moment. One might almost think that Stan and Draymond got injured and were out for a long time, but that's not the case with nearly the same roster. However, they collapsed later. And this decline happened, even though they are one of the few teams this season that have already made an in-season trade to strengthen themselves. In mid-December 2024, they tried to acquire Dennis Schroeder to cover for DeAnthony Melton's injury, but that hasn't worked at all so far. Our captain of the German basketball nation has already played games for his new team. Of these, the Dubs lost 9, and as sorry as it makes me, Dennis Schroeder is not entirely innocent in this. Unfortunately, the 31-year-old is hardly recognizable compared to his time in Brooklyn because he played incredibly well for the Nets. So well that he literally harmed their goal of tanking and losing games. When comparing his statistics from his time in Brooklyn and Golden State, it's almost eye-opening. Scored 10.4 ppg with Nets, now 10.1 with Warriors. Assists down from 6.6 to 4.5, minutes 34-28. Offensive rating 115-94, shooting 59% to 43%, usage 24% to 10%. 20. The Warriors are literally getting slaughtered with Dennis on the court, losing his minutes cutting down to 12 points. Point of possessions, and although the point guard started every team, his are often his creepy. Thank you. But why isn't Dennis Schroeder the expected reinforcement for the Warriors, and should they maybe consider putting him on the bench in the future? Grab your freshly chilled holy and sit back relaxed, because here comes the big analysis. Even when the trade was announced, there were a few reasons for optimism, but also a few reasons. The problem up to this point is that the next negative aspects overwhelmingly outweigh the positives. The reasons for concern have all materialized in the worst case. It was clear that Dennis would need to adjust his playing style. He loves the pick and roll. However, Golden State has been following a completely different philosophy for over a decade. They rely on motion offense, ball and player movement, delay actions, split actions, cuts, off-ball screens, and much more. It was clear from the beginning that Dennis is not the optimal player type for this style of offense. He needs the ball in his hands, he needs regular touches and shots for his rhythm to thrive. He must be the focal point of the offense. The problem, however, is that Schroeder can only be the pivot for bad teams like the Nets, because he is simply not good enough to take on this role in a team. The attempt to integrate the patented Steve Kerr Warriors system for this has so far failed completely. Here, they run a split action for him because it goes through the screen and comes to the ball, he takes the lunk. A low percentage pull-up from mid-range is not a good shot except by Kevin Durant. The Clippers are really screwing up and botching the defensive coordination, but it doesn't matter, no movement shooter is. Van Haan didn't execute optimally, but it's not penalized. Since Schroeder's Brooklyn stats show poor shooting, he screens and then rotates out. Letting him rotate to a subsequent catch-and-shoot spot-up 3 is not an efficient offense for the Dubs, and that could have already been anticipated. Well, one has to say that there's also been a lot of bad shooting luck. Only 25% of his threes in the Warriors jersey have found their way so far. Is he a new quality player, shooting 39% like with the Nets? No, we must be honest. However, is he only a 25% shooter in quality? Neither. I think he's between 33 and 35%. And it would shock me if he ends the season below 30% despite the cold streak at the beginning now. If a few more of these threes fall, then his percentages overall and also his volume stats already go up. And then it might not look so bad at all. Bad luck is certainly also a factor, but in my eyes it doesn't tell the whole truth. In my opinion, Schroeder depends a lot on rhythm. And he doesn't have much of that with the Warriors. His three-point volume decreased from 6.5 to currently 5 per night. That could already have. We could always observe this with the Lakers back then. When Schroeder stands around for minutes waiting only for passes, then gets his 2 threes per quarter and everyone expects him to make them, then it can't work out. It's hard for him to get warm if he doesn't get enough shots. The problem is that he's not good enough to take more shots on a good team. Of course, one might say that the Warriors should simply give him a bigger role again, as he had with the Nets, but he's not good enough for that. He's only good enough for a smaller role, But this smaller role doesn't suit him, as paradoxical as it sounds. I'll call it the Dennis Schroeder problem. So, when your quality and your optimal role are not really in sync, what the Warriors need most from him is shooting, and he can't really deliver that, while what they don't need so much is pick and roll. In their starting lineups alongside Curry and Green, exactly, and that's his game. If he has a good, athletic big screener, a rim-running, lob-catching big like, for example, with Brooklyn, then it looks good. But the Warriors simply don't have such player types, as you can see in one offense after another. Looney and Draymond are not ball screeners who then immediately roll and thereby pose a scoring threat and thus have roll gravity. Exactly what Dennis needs not only for his passes to this big, but also for his own drives. Instead, what the defense likes to do against these Warriors ball screens is switch or go under the screen, and in such isolations, Schroeder is not really an effective scorer and playmaker. So, he should not be given full blame. To be blamed, limits on jokes, the space wing is heavily catastrophic for the video. You can really tell that this is not the Warriors' game. They are not really able to adapt to Schroeder, and he is not able to adapt to them. So, there are hardly any good looks in the coop anymore. Rhythm frequency has plummeted. Instead, he takes a lot more mid-range shots, and he doesn't make his teammates as free. With the Lakers, he could at least run pick and roll with Anthony Davis back then, but he just doesn't have someone like that by his side with the Warriors. A bit like a foreign object in this system, which is partly his fault but also owed to the system and the teammates, and it's also not like they are particularly good without him. Maybe it would really help to bench him more in the future, to stream minutes with Curry and let Schroeder pull more strings in these second units. Perhaps at the same time they should look to make the roster more athletic. The Warriors are small and old, smaller and older than most other teams. No combination in basketball, and not conducive for Dennis. And if his shooting improves a bit, then we shouldn't rule out that it could also somehow work. Will Schroeder ever have a really impressive positive with these Warriors? I don't think so, but it has to be. And I don't think it's impossible that he can at least help a bit more. Unfortunately, all parties involved have so far missed this goal by far. But what do you think about that? Grab a Holy and enjoy the best soft drinks. Energy drinks, iced teas, hydration, and new milkshakes. No sugar, no chemicals, eco-friendly, affordable and delicious. What's not to love? Check the description and pinned comment for my link and discount codes for new and existing customers. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and take care.